Hello everyone, Ladislas Maurice of The Wandering Investor. Today I'm in Chongqing in China and I'm about to board a flight to Zhuhai province right next to Macau. Why? Because recently I bought an apartment from a Chinese developer in Nairobi in Kenya. And I feel that there's a general misconception out there, which is not entirely true, that a lot of the Chinese developers initially had a textile factory or an import-export business and became developers because they saw a business opportunity, which led to not a lot of professionalism when it comes to developing the actual projects. But now there's a new generation of Chinese developers in Africa that are actually professional developers in China. So we're going to go meet that specific developer and look at one of their previous projects to do a bit of research on the ground and have a better understanding of what they actually achieved back home in China before starting operations in Africa. All right, let's go. Yeah, so this trip was really not expected at all. I had booked a trip with my family to Chongqing about 3-4 months ago, and it's only a few weeks ago that I bought an apartment in Nairobi. So when we were discussing with the developer, I said, hey, are you going to be in China around those dates? And Miss Lee said yes. So I said, hey, how about I fly over and look at some of your previous projects? I recommend Chongqing as a destination for tourism. It's interesting, it's big, it's very Chinese, not a lot of international tourism. The food is extremely spicy. I don't know, it's a very different place, extremely affordable. We were staying in a nice 5-star service, 2-bedroom, 2-bathroom apartment right downtown with breakfast, everything for $90 a night. So really, really interesting. The equivalent of Uber rides around town were $1.50, $2 max in really nice, brand new Chinese EVs. So there's definitely a lot of value in and the flight was interesting. It was Budapest to Chongqing. It was 3/4 full. It's an extremely affordable flight. You can get flights for 500 euros return. I think it's more of a political flight because of all the Chinese investment going into Hungary. Hungary is actually the #1 recipient of Chinese foreign investment in Europe. Way more than Germany, France, etc. I think that as part of that deal, the Chinese government is sponsoring or subsidizing flights to different parts of China from Budapest. So it was a nice opportunity to just go to China and check it out. And now here we are in Zhuhai. So Gao, can you tell us a little bit about Zhuhai here?
Zhuhai was a fishing village 40 years ago, and now Chinese government developed a lot and it's a modern city now. The location is pretty prime because it's connecting to Macau and Hong Kong.
And how many people live here now, roughly?
It's about 3 million people living in this city.
And a lot of manufacturing.
Yeah, and a lot of factories.
Great, so I just got here. This is the building. There's a Holiday Inn, there's a Wyndham. It's a commercial building essentially, and we are now going to meet with Miss Lee, who's the chairwoman of this Chinese developer, who's also developing that building that I bought in Nairobi. I bought a 3-bedroom penthouse for about $175,000, but they also have 1-bedrooms starting from I think $58,000 to 2 bedrooms. The most luxurious 2-bedroom apartments are $108,000, so pretty affordable. They were talking a pretty big game in terms of the quality that they expect to build. So here we are at one of their projects. Let's see, it was built 7 years ago, so it's seen 7 years of maintenance or lack of maintenance, we'll see. So let's do our research and take it from there. So I was told to go to the 30th floor. So Miss Lee, it's a real pleasure seeing you here a few weeks after Nairobi.
欢迎你来中国，我们又见面了。
Thank you. So we're really close to Macau here.
Yes, 我们背后就是澳门。现在我们所在的这个位置是龙福大厦，它背靠的就是后面就是澳门。然后我们在世界上最繁忙的口岸拱北口岸和青茂口岸，这个项目位于这个位置，是珠海最好的一个 房地产的一个位置。
So how many projects have you completed as a developer here in China?
中国我们做了26年，项目做了大概有不到20个吧，10几个项目。这个项目呢是2018年。开工，2019年我们就交付了。
So this building is 30 floors, just like the building that you're going ahead and building in Nairobi, where I bought an apartment. Is this a small project for you? Is this a medium, big project? Like what's the size of it?
这个项目跟内罗毕的项目不是太一样。因为我们的楼层高度可能是一样的，跟内罗毕那边也是30层，但是这个楼呢，它是一个完全的一个商业楼。内罗毕的我们 Golden Mansion 那个项目呢，它还是一个公寓，它是一个以居住为主的，这个是以商业经营为主的，这两个是不太一样的。那这个作为体量来说呢，我们这个隆福大厦呢6万平米。属于一个在这个城市里面商业体量呢，单体建筑里头呢，规模算中等偏上的。但是呢，就是如果说作为住宅，它不是很大，但是作为商业体来说呢，它的建设呀，还有它的构造呀，还有各种的功能呀，要更加的复杂，要比一般的公寓要复杂一些。
So obviously, a lot of people have the perception in some markets that many Chinese developers build poor quality. What do you have to say about this?
是这样的，我们这个企业呢，做房地产开发有26年，但是在做房地产开发以前呢，主要是做建筑工程的，所以我们在房屋的建设品质上是高于很多同样的一些开发企业，因为在这方面会比较有经验和有自己的这种质量要求。像隆福大厦这个楼呢，我们外面这个全用的是玻璃幕墙，这个在肯尼亚一个30层楼都用玻璃幕墙的这种项目是没有的。所以但是我们这个呢没有完全的搬到肯尼亚去，因为情况是不一样的。住的这个大楼的这个人群，还有包括它的使用功能是不一样的。要比一般的建筑肯定是要有难度的，造价也会非常高。我们应该是在房地产开发企业里头呢，算成第一梯队吧，就是算成第一梯队。尤其是在肯尼亚，我们去了之后发现呢，就是这个开发的品质呢，就像众人所说，可能是有的地方不是很好。那我们也在极力的呢，要改变大家对固有的这种中国的房地产开发企业的这种认识，把我们在中国的这些经验呢带过去，和我们的品质要求带过去。这就是为什么说智选呀，假日智选，还有这个温德姆酒店，他会选择和我们合作。包括我们在北京的物业，那也是全季酒店，在那儿是我们中国最大规模的一个连锁酒店，他们都是有自己的选择物业的标准和选择物业的这个就是选择物业的这种准入门槛，所以他们跟我们这样的合作呢，就说明我们在产品质量上，在我们对整个市场和我们的设计上，我们的建筑本身，包括位置，都会是一个非常有经验的这样的一个公司，一个专业的团队做出来的一个产品。
Look, if the Wyndham and Holiday Inn are willing to set up hotels in this building, it just means that the standards are high. I know a few developers in the past that have tried to get hotels, etc., and it's hard. It's a tough process. You need to meet very high standards, high requirements, audits, etc. It's not an easy task to get big international hotel brands into your commercial building like this. Do you feel you'll be able to build the same quality in Kenya as you've built here?
在肯尼亚建成这样标准的一个大厦，对于我们企业来说丝毫没有难度，完全没有问题。无论是从技术、从团队、从资金上面都没有问题。
I mean, to be fair, you go around Nairobi and you see some really nice high-end developments. There's absolutely the skill set in Nairobi. You know, if we're talking of some other countries in Africa, I'd be worried, but in Kenya particularly, there is a lot of talent. So one thing is building quality, another is maintaining. And often Chinese developers in many parts of the world have a reputation for not always being great with maintenance. What do you have to say about this?
隆福大厦的物业呢，是我们自己公司在进行管理。我们现在全国呢，在江苏、在北京、在 广东的所有的物业都是自己的物业管理公司。我们公司呢，对不同的物业呢有不同的物业管理的标准，就是酒店类的、办公室、写字楼类的，还是公寓，还是普通住宅小区，都有自己的一个管理要求和管理标准。然后呢，建立的有自己的这个管理团队。在整个的一个大物业的底下，我们又分了几个分支的物业管理公司。包括我们肯尼亚。肯尼亚的这个项目，内罗毕的 God Mansion 这个项目建完之后呢，也是由我们自己来管理。我们对这种高级公寓的管理有一套自己的管理标准和要求。然后呢，我们会派主要的一些负责培训、负责督导的一些人员到肯尼亚呢，对新的团队进行培训，进行一个组建。严格的按照我们自己公司的这个体系来进行管理。但是在肯尼亚呢，肯定是我们是组建一个本土化的一个团队，也会把这个项目呢做的跟全国跟中国是一个标准。明天呢，我们也可以去看一下，请您一起跟我去看一下我们在这边的一些供应商，我们的一些材料供应商，建筑材料的供应商。明天我们主要是看一个瓷砖的一个厂家，我们多年合作，我们是怎么样选择从源头就能够把质量控制好，然后每一个环节都按照我们自己详封的标准来一步一步的完成这样的一个建筑。
All right, so I guess I now have to walk around the building and go look for some flaws. All right, so we're going to go check out one of the apartments later on, but this is the kind of reception area, really. This is what 7 years of wear and tear looks like. Not too bad at all. Look, obviously the building in Nairobi won't have the same design and everything. You know, I can't say that the quality is bad of anything I'm seeing here. Let's put it this way. I've seen a lot of Chinese developments in Nairobi, and a lot of them do not look like this after 7 years. I think anyone that understands the Nairobi market knows that typically Chinese developments, most of them do not look this good after 7 years. So I've been warned that the apartments are really small here, so I'm certainly not expecting this size in Nairobi. The reason being that the market here is mostly people that work in Macau or in Hong Kong, and rent is so expensive there that they just like rent a small place. They leave early in the morning, they come back late at night, and they barely don't eat in their own apartments. I mean, there's a big eating out culture in China anyway, so kitchens are less important. I mean, the hallways are nice and clean, really nice and clean. And here we go. All right, so this is this developer's finishings after 7 years of relatively intense usage. That's kind of cute. I mean, it's like the finishings are all right. It's not, I don't see any like deep red flags anywhere here. Look, I'll tell you something. I've seen a lot of buildings in Africa and also in Asia that were built by the Chinese, and they looked absolutely awful. After just 2 years, like things were just collapsing. I saw some in Cambodia that were really bad. Even here in China, there are a ton of them all over. This, I can tell you, is absolutely not one of them. I mean, there's really nothing much to say here. The maintenance is very decent, and the quality is, the quality is totally fair. I mean, for the prices that people are paying, totally fair. So if I get this in terms of quality of finishings, I'm not talking about the design, but in terms of quality of finishings in my apartment in Nairobi, I'd be very happy for the price that I'm paying. Let's be clear. Good morning, Miss Lee. So where are we going today?
早晨好，我们今天去我一个多年合作的伙伴那里面去看一看他们生产的一些材料，然后我们也再看一看这个材料市场上的区别，好与不好之间的区别。
So now we're driving to Foshan, which is another region about an hour and a half away from Zhuhai. So let's go check it out. So Mrs. Lee, you're a successful mid-sized developer here in China, which in most of the world means a huge developer. You have a nice life here. You've had many successful projects. Why are you starting projects in Africa, more specifically in Kenya, and then not just doing that, but also moving your whole family there?
是这样的，我们也是偶尔呢，就是去非洲旅游，去到了肯尼亚，然后 到肯尼亚之后呢，因为我和我先生我们做了20多年的房地产开发在中国，我们到了肯尼亚和非洲的其他国家之后呢，我们全部都考察了一下房地产的市场，我们发现呢，肯尼亚的房地产市场呢是处于一个上升阶段，无论它的这个租赁还是销售都是非常活跃的，而且整个肯尼亚的经济政治也是比较稳定的。到了肯尼亚之后呢，我们也被它的气候所吸引，然后那边的投资环境也还是不错的，然后租售比也很好。我觉得那边的房地产行业正处在一个上升的阶段，而且整个肯尼亚处在一个大基建时代，所以说我觉得我跟我先生回国之后，旅游回国之后，我们俩就商量，就决定呢，就到肯尼亚，去做这个我们比较熟悉的这个行业，又开辟了一个新的这样的一个市场。
Yeah, like I really understand the reasoning. On a personal basis, I spent most of my 20s in Africa working for Nestle. My last role there was on the executive board of Nestle Ghana, in charge of the milk business for a few West African countries. And then I left, and I've been, wandering around the world, investing my money, etc. And I have a few bases around the world with my family. And increasingly, I am considering making two decisions, right? One decision is potentially acquiring an African citizenship, and the second decision is potentially making Nairobi one of my major bases. I see the huge potential in Africa. I lived on the continent, I can feel it, I see it, and originally coming from Europe, I also see the decline economically, socially, politically of my own continent, which makes me sad. I'm certainly not celebrating it. But then I see all the upside in Africa, and I think I want to position myself and my family to take part in that upside and to help build as well. So it's still something I'm pondering. I haven't made any final decisions yet, but it's definitely something that is top of mind for me. So I've already bought a few investment apartments in Nairobi, 4 of them at another Chinese developer that were pure investor units, 1 bedrooms, 1.5 bedrooms. And then also I bought a 3-bedroom penthouse for Mrs. Lee in her development in the GTC in Nairobi. That's also an investment property. I wouldn't quite see myself living in that sort of apartment. That one is really targeting more African businessmen, etc., because of the location. Now the decision is, do I want to potentially buy something for myself and my family purely from a lifestyle point of view and not ROI driven? Can you tell us a bit more about Foshan?
佛山是中国著名的侨乡，佛山有1000多万人口，它是全世界的一个建材中心，以陶瓷和小家电为主。大家可能耳熟能详的有的一些名人，就是它也是著名的武术之乡，像大家知道的李小龙、黄飞鸿、叶问，都是佛山人。
So we just arrived at the headquarters of the towel manufacturer, so the towels that Mrs. Lee is going to be buying for the development I bought in Nairobi. And judging by the car park, I don't think she's bottom feeding. I mean, the cars are pretty nice here. The cars are on average nicer than what you would find in Western Europe at a towel shop. I can tell you that. Yeah, there's some really nice cars in China. And all these Chinese EVs are really impressive. All right, so we're here with Ruby, who's in charge of exports for Africa, correct?
Yes.
Can
Welcome to Hongyu.
Thank you. Can you tell us a little bit about your group here?
Hongyu Group is established in 1997. We are the top 3 tiles manufacturer in China, and we have 5 different factories. The biggest one is more than 5 million square meter.
5 million square meters.
Yes. It's something like the 700 football fields.
All right, so look, I think we all understand that China is big, but I don't think we really appreciate how big China is. Cool, so let's go have a look at some of the towels and the products.
Okay, let's go.
All right. So Ruby, most people don't quite understand the difference in quality between tiles and are completely clueless when they go to the shop.
Yes.
Can you elaborate a little bit?
Yeah, sure. Okay, you can see here, this is the firing curve of our production lines. You can see here the firing time and the firing temperature. The firing time will be more than 18 minutes and the firing temperature is more than 1,250 degrees.
So this makes a big difference in terms of quality?
Yes, because the cost will be much higher, so that's why our prices will be more different and the quality is much higher than the other factories. For the tiles, you can see our biscuit is quite white. Sometimes it's more whiter than the other factories.
Does it mean it's higher quality, the fact that it's
Yes.
white, or is it just the raw material you use is different?
Okay, the tiles is something like a paper. If the paper is white, more whiter, the color on the paper will be more bright.
Okay.
So that's why more factories, more customer will think our tiles are the color, the surface is more beautiful than the other factory.
So now we're going to go check out a cheaper tile manufacturer to compare the two different products. All right, so now we are going to the other tile people. But look at the car; it's kind of cool. It's got little colors, little stars. Yeah, I have to admit, I much prefer Zhuhai and Foshan over Chongqing. We're in December. In Chongqing, it was cold, pretty foggy, fair amount of pollution, to be fair. And then we arrived in Zhuhai. I haven't worn a jacket. It feels less crowded. The food is less spicy. I much prefer it here. It's pretty funny, the salespeople from the first manufacturer are taking us to the low-quality manufacturer. And they're like, yeah, they won't know what we're doing, what we're filming, so it's fine. I mean, the reality is no one has access to YouTube in China. It's behind the big Chinese, the Great Wall. So it's very unlikely that smaller manufacturer will see this video. So here we are at the retailer of one of the other manufacturers, though not directly the manufacturer, but it just gives an idea in terms of quality.
在中国呢，陶瓷市场上可以买到各种品质的陶瓷，像这个呢，就是属于普通的或者偏低一点的品质。但是我们公司呢和我们集团公司呢，一直呢有自己的品质要求，所以说我们选的陶瓷，和其他的建材都相对于在市场上属于中等偏高的这样的一种档次。我们把口碑，把我们的产品质量还是放在第一位。
Yeah, so this was one of the reasons I initially invested in her development, because I could tell that the quality would be better than a lot of the other competitors out there. But because this group is just entering the Kenyan market, they're coming, unfortunately, with the perception that they're just another cheap Chinese developer. But they have to prove themselves upfront with their first project. My understanding of it is that they're doing this first project, trying to get really good quality. They'll be selling a bit lower than the competitors. So essentially their margins will be very thin on this first project to build the reputation. And as an early investor in this, my bet is that I'll end up with a product that is better than what the market expected and priced in. So you sold out of the penthouses, correct?
Yes，是的，已经全部卖完了。
What do you have left?
现在我们还有呢，就是非常适合于投资的，小一居、大一居，还有呢两居室。这个价格呢，小一居和大一居的价格呢，在6万美金到9万美金总价。两居室呢，在8万5美金到11万5左右，是这样的一个区间。
Look, I mean, regardless of whether you're interested or not, this video is not about that. The video, really, I wanted people to understand that there are different types of Chinese developers entering the market in Africa. They're too easily portrayed as just one, the Chinese, but we're talking of a massive country, massive economy, and people from very different backgrounds doing business in Africa that also results in very different quality in terms of end delivery. We've seen it with Chinese cars. You know, initially they were all bad, and now you have Chinese car brands that are absolutely fantastic in terms of quality, and others that are still pretty bad. So just keep that diversity in mind when you're dealing with some of these Chinese businesses in Africa. Their backgrounds can be very, very different. Anyways, if you're interested in this project, you can get in touch with Pratik. He's the one who introduced me to this. And Miss Lee, thank you very much for your time here in Zhuhai and in Foshan. It was really, really interesting.
不用客气，欢迎你常来中国。
Make sure to download my free ebook, 12 Mistakes to Avoid When Investing in International Real Estate, which you can find on my website, linked below. And feel free to follow me on Instagram @TheWandering Investor. I look forward to hearing from you.